What kind of advice would you give to someone who's starting to make art into their career? I'm just getting started in becoming a freelance artist, and any art or non-art related tips would be awesome. I'd love to have your input on how to get started as a freelance artist. I have no experience, and it's such a mystery to me how people get their first commissions. How did it go for you? How do you get more attention in social media without just doing fan art or whatever is popular at the time? So many questions about how to actually start as a freelance artist addressed to me, the vlogger. Yeah, that's the biggest problem, and that's why I usually don't cover on this subject. I don't make videos about like career advice, simply because I don't have that career. I'm not an artist. Like, I do paint almost every day, but my income comes from making the videos, which is of course a fundamentally different thing. So you guys keep that in mind as I continue to telling you what to do. Hi guys, my name is Borodante, and I'm reading here some of your guys' questions that I asked for on my Discord server. You can find the link to it in the description. So yeah, I've been thinking about it for a while. Pretty much everything that I can really tell you about how to get your career as an artist is that you shouldn't go for it as just an artist. Like, what kind of artist? None of you guys specified what exactly, like freelancer. Okay, you want to do it from home, but what direction, you know? And generally, like, my main advice is narrow down what kind of artist you are. And forget the fantasy that you can be just an artist, you know, just paint whatever you like. Even if you'll find time and skill to develop in all directions, you won't be able to develop your audience or your client base the same way. If you have a portfolio and it's like all kinds of stuff, it's just not gonna work. And it's not just about selecting the right artwork for the kind of portfolio you work on. It's about fully dedicating your whole time to just working in that thing, to improve on it as much as you can. If you want to be a freelancer, you're up for a huge fight because you're fighting all the artists in the world. And the best ones are just insane. You have to be the best of the best. And to do that, step one is to narrow down, like choose one thing you want to be best at and just go for it. Get as good as you can possibly get. But yeah, it's not just about being able to develop the skill better. It's also about when you see someone online, any kind of artist, and they have all kinds of artwork left and right in all kinds of directions and styles and everything, like child book artwork, then dark stuff, some fancy experimental illustrations for like maybe a magazine art, and then like a storytelling classical painterly illustration for a book or something. And of course, a bunch of times you tried yourself as a concept artist, so a couple of characters standing in the void. That's nothing, that's just noise. No one will pay attention to you. Even when I like scroll through Instagram and I look at a new artist, if I subscribe to a new artist, chances are they have a very narrow specific thing. They do this one mood, one style, one like universe of characters, like a certain set. And they just keep working on it, improving on it, and building up this, you know, series of artwork that's just their whole art style. Thing is, art style is appreciated by people as a much more narrow thing. You know, it's not just about the way your brushwork is or the colors you choose. It's like everything. If they're dark, then you can't just draw stuff for kids all of a sudden, something like that, you know? It has to be consistent. That's the only way to make sure your potential employer will be certain that they found a person that is the best in this direction that they need. Like, you may be thinking, oh, I'm missing out on other opportunities then. Like, what if someone who's looking for a child book artwork would look at my stuff and I never worked on that? They'll just go somewhere else. They'll go somewhere else anyway, because you don't only do child artwork if you do all kinds of stuff. They have the whole internet to look for people that just do the thing they want to see. So better narrow down, then you will have a much higher chance to definitely find people in that direction instead of not finding anyone in a lot of directions. Try to find different ways to improve it, to be relevant. You know, if it's a magazine illustration, you need to like develop these flat texturized styles that they have everywhere. Like, you gotta find your thing. And it better be not too experimental and out there, you know, I'm ahead of my time. You will be ahead of it, and you won't find the audience then. So don't think you're too special and that you can do everything. You can be anything, but you gotta choose which one of those anythings. And yeah, if you want to be just, you know, a big artist online, then you gotta choose your audience and again, the style. A lot of people subscribe not just for, someone else asked here, yeah, about like how to avoid just doing fan art to get any traction online. A lot of people, like, I never subscribe for fan art. I subscribe when there's good aesthetics, for instance, or something like that, when I can look at the whole wall of the artwork that this person makes, and I'll be certain that they'll continue doing the same thing later. I think that's the main thing about success online. You gotta prove with the history, with this consistency, that you're doing the same thing that the person enjoys, so they would understand that the next post they'll receive after they subscribe, it will be in the same style, like an improvement on this same thing. People want to collect their feed out of different, you know, cool things, and they need to be reliable, you know? Think from the point of view of a generic follower or whatever, like what kind of network you're working with. Think from their point of view, like, why would they subscribe to someone who's doing all kinds of stuff all the time? Like, it's just noise. Usually when you narrow it down and specify, like, I'm just doing portraits or just doing character concept design, it's much easier to find the right courses or all kinds of materials, develop the workflow. Everything starts making sense because you actually chose the direction. So that's the big thing to keep in mind. Aside from that, in terms of like looking for career opportunity and stuff like that, in art community, it never hurts to have a lot of friends. So if you are not really good at communication, all you really have is just sitting down, having no friends, and working your ass off to make sure you're just so good that you don't have to talk to anyone, they'll find you themselves. But yeah, I think ArtStation is one place where you can definitely make sure you put together a good set of artwork so people would see that you're out there. DeviantArt, I never got anything from there. And yeah, I think LinkedIn, it would never hurt to make sure you have a good page in there, but no guarantees on that subject. I'm not very experienced in that. Do you like the emotes I made of you? Absolutely. The teeth are a bit too perfect for this particular emotion. I'm just saying they're kind of distractingly gorgeous. That works against the... I don't know. How do we know you're real? Your eyes are real. If you wouldn't be an artist, what job would you like to do for a living? YouTube vlogger. Again, that's really my job, not really an artist. But I mean, I would probably find a different way to express myself, to improve upon. If any kind of visual arts related answer is a bad answer here, then I don't know, maybe I would do music or something. Maybe I would even make games if I would have to go that far, but that's a heavy subject. But with the whole mobile games market and stuff like that, there are places where you can start with smaller projects and build upon that. How'd you find passion with art? And is there a motivation, inspiration to keep you doing what you're doing every day? To me, it's really about just getting inspired by other people's artwork or by movies and trying to apply it my own way. I remember it's always about, you know, I look about different stuff and like, this is cool, that is cool. But how about doing it, you know, like my way, a little bit somewhat, and I can't find that anywhere. And that inspires me to, you know, add that myself because no one else did that. Something like that. So we just, you know, keep looking at things and keep thinking about how things could get better. By the way, don't mind the kind of a rash on my face. That's not a rash, that's a VR face. Hey, when are you gonna finish Outlandish Curiosity? I should probably wrap this up and get back to work. Soon. It's really hard to find time, but I'm getting close. Out of all the artworks you made, what's your favorite? Actually, that's an interesting subject. Usually, many of you guys are probably familiar with this effect. Like, you work on any piece, even if you love it, after a while, like 6 months later, you hate it. It looks stupid and everything's wrong. I think the biggest reason to that is because when you work on a huge thing, you invest yourself more and more. So you start like looking for things to fix to save this artwork because things start falling apart. But you also lie to yourself as much as you try to fix things, because some things you won't be able to fix. They're like almost fundamentally wrong maybe, or you're just not in the right place to fix them today or at this period of time. And yeah, it kind of becomes like this Stockholm effect where you sort of lie to yourself into liking the artwork you worked so hard on for a while. But yeah, after a while that veil wears off and you can see everything. Black Widow is a perfect example. I think that's one of the reasons why I was restarting it so much. That's because I knew perfectly well that kind of thing will happen and that the artwork will be overly detailed beyond my actual abilities to detail. Like, that's a thing that I noticed lately, that I only little by little lately start to understand how to truly detail things well. As well as, you know, Black Widow is another good example, same as Eat Your Ass Jeremy, for instance. There are big artworks and I generally love them, but like I thought too much of them. And because of that, I couldn't really choose the good direction. Kind of the same thing that happens with many artists in terms of choosing the direction, what you want to be, you know, what kind of artist. But in here, I couldn't choose what kind of artwork this is supposed to be. And it really shows in Black Widow on its lighting, for instance, like all over the place, because everything is important, you know? I couldn't choose just some dark place and then a good shape of a high contrast lighting somewhere, which would make things much more interesting and cool, much deeper. None of that is happening. Everything's flat and bright and it looks lame because of that. And I couldn't apply any kind of stronger perspective or something because I couldn't make someone too big because what about everything else? It's like you become too cautious and it completely ruins the artwork. It happens so much. But going back to the question, I think one artwork kind of broke the rule and I look back at it and I still like it even today. It's Arachna. And that's because it was actually just an experimental quick artwork and I just finished it in a few episodes. I never thought too much of it. That's probably the main reason. It's not that detailed, but again, that's sort of representative of the level at which I can detail, really, before starting to ruin things. So I think this is one of my best pieces because it's just, I made certain decisions and it's just that. Come to think of it, I also really like The Visitor. It was a really good piece. I have some problems with aesthetic choices. I think some stuff could be better in terms of this contrast and color scheme of this, the whiteness of his. Some things feel a bit like they could be a bit more stylish. Like if Piotr Jablonski would be doing this, his color scheme would be really cool on this piece. And shape design, probably another big deal about this. Just the shape design of that part of the body of the visitor that we see, it's not really good. Just as the final thing that we actually look at, you know? Do you have any advice on how you deal with demotivation and art burnout? To me, it usually helps to just look at amazing artists. Usually, really good artists, they're really inspiring in general. If you are involved in creating artwork, it's incredibly inspiring to see like best of the best masters at work. Looking into it and you find new and new details of what makes their pieces special or why their approach is so good. All of it can inspire you a lot, whether it would be like the content, the story of what they're doing, the style, or just technical stuff as well. Anything can really inspire you in that, and you will find those things very useful to apply for whatever you have in mind. Again, so you would be able to add something new, some of that just your way kind of thing. So yeah, this is it. Thank you guys for the questions, and thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye! What does CG in your name mean? That's computer graphics. But does it even matter if no one knows what it is? You didn't ask what borrow means.